Hi everybody, Joey here again and welcome back. So last week I gave you a sneak peek to a 3D background with an integrated sand fall. This week I want to show you how to build a 3D background or structure. A 3D background is certainly one of the most unique features you can create for your aquarium. I created my first background around 10 years ago, and fellow hobbyists have been doing it for far longer than that using a tried and true method of styrofoam and cement. Now there are many ways to accomplish this, so I suggest doing some further research and finding the method that works best for you. For example, I made a hollow fiberglass background in the past. So in this video I intend to simply give you some tips and inspiration to use on your own. To get started you'll need some styrofoam. Now you can either buy this or you can get it for free at a furniture store that throws it out every day. You'll want to get white styrofoam, and the thicker the better. Start off by measuring the area in your aquarium that you intend to place this. I like to start off with creating a thick base, so I silicone a few layers together. Having a general idea of the final product in mind will help. Now to be honest, I had no idea what I was going to create when I made this. I just knew I wanted some caves, crevices, and a lot of texture to use in this example. There really is no perfect tool to use when carving, so use what works best for you. Now I used a combination of razors and simple knives. You might even want to draw out the general formation that you'd like onto the styrofoam prior to cutting, so you have a basic outline to follow. There's really no worry of cutting off too much, as you can always replace it with another piece of styrofoam and some silicone. My advice here is just to take your time, cut slowly. There's no fast way to do this. Also, have a shop vac or vacuum on hand to clean up your mess regularly, because this is really messy. As you're cutting, constantly fit it into your tank as you go as well, making sure it's coming along as planned and it still fits. If you plan to have your filter behind it, make sure that you carve out a large enough place for it and are constantly dry fitting it in place, so there's really no surprises when you go to install it. If you do intend to install a filter behind it, just remember that you're going to need an entrance and exit for that filter. The options and styles here are literally endless, and I certainly can't cover everything. With a basic formation completed, I like to use a heat gun to lightly scorch the surface. This makes the surface much harder. However, you can also sand it to achieve a similar texture. Sanding it will also help bring out definition. Heating it or sanding it's also going to stop little bits of styrofoam from coming off in the future. When pleased with the final outcome, I move on to cement. Now I have seen basically every type of cement used with no real problems. However, I like to use a hydraulic water stop cement, as I can build it up to whatever consistency I like, and it doesn't have a tendency to crack, plus it cures fast. All you have to do is mix the cement with water and thoroughly combine it. The more water you add, the less thick the mixture will be. The first coat should be pretty thin, simply to give the second coat a better surface to stick to. I tend to apply all of the coats with a paintbrush. Now the second coat will go on thicker. If you're finding that you're losing definition in your background during this application, use your finger or pencil to help remove a bit of the cement from those areas or crevices. This is also a good time to tell you that you should account for this happening when you're carving, so make sure you carve slightly larger than you want to allow for the cement. Let each coat cure in between applications. Now cure time depends on the cement used, so just follow the directions. Usually after 3 or 4 coats you have enough. You'll be looking for a thickness of around 2 millimeters thick. So now at this point you can either install it as is, or you can move on to painting. If you like it as is, silicone it in place and ensure all the sides are sealed so the fish can't get behind it. Wait at least 48 hours for the silicone to cure. You're using a lot of silicone, so a bit of extra time is needed for this background. At that time, if you don't like something about the background, you can still cut some off and coat it again in the tank, or even apply a bit of thicker cement to help build it up a little bit more. Now comes the water changes. After your initial fill, your pH will skyrocket off the charts. So you're going to have to do continuous water changes until it goes back to normal. This could take several weeks. Changing the water every 3 days is what I would recommend. Testing the water 3 days after each fill until the pH in the tank is the same as the pH coming from the tap. Once that happens, you can go ahead and continue with the tank as normal. However, you may not want to have to do water changes at all, so coating the background in a clear epoxy coating can be done. But it's much more expensive. However, it not only seals the background, but it also provides a hard protective shell. For painting, you have a couple of options. You can either simply buy some cement tint and tint it as needed, or you can use 100% acrylic paint. Once cured, it's non-toxic. Now, it's not going to last forever underwater, but it will last several years. I suggest using it sparingly to create a more natural look. You can also use a 2-part epoxy paint, but again, it's not cheap. Formations in the tank are exactly the same, except you can make them by simply stacking up a few pieces of styrofoam and siliconing them together, followed by the cement. It's very easy to create rocks this way, as well as caves, and really anything you want. Just ensure that you fully coat the structure with cement, followed by siliconing it in place. So that's basically it. I think that's enough information to get you started. Now obviously there's pros and cons to a 3D background. One is not the cost. This is relatively inexpensive to make. However, it does take a lot of time and effort to create one. On another note, the chances of somebody having the same background as you is 0. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I also wanted to thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next week when we build the sandfall.